Hey everyone, it's Sal from Essentage, Tucson's premier accounting firm. Today is Monday, April 20th, and I wanted to do a follow-up video about the stimulus checks. So in our previous videos, we discussed the stimulus check program, who was receiving a check, who was not receiving a check, who was eligible, who was not eligible, and we also talked about non-filers, so those of you that don't normally file a tax return and how to make sure the IRS has your information. You know, in those videos, we received a lot of comments and we responded to many of those comments, but what we noticed is that most of the folks out there were responding to each other, which is fantastic. We really appreciate that, and I think it's a great idea. As information becomes available, those of you that have the answers to some of those questions, feel free to respond to those posts. So there's a great article that came out, and it is really in a Q&A fashion where they go through a bunch of questions that people are asking about the stimulus check program and about, you know, why checks haven't gone out yet, why some people have received their funds and why some people haven't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post that article in the description below, but also I'd like to do a quick overview of the article, and I'll do it in a Q&A form. So I'll go ahead and give you the questions that are out there, and then I'll go ahead and respond to the answer as well based on what is printed in the article. So the first question is, why didn't we get our stimulus payment? So the IRS has responded to this question with the following. So in order to be one of the early recipients of the direct deposit stimulus funds, you must have filed at least your 2018 or your 2019 tax return. Now, on top of that, not only must you have filed your 2018 or 2019 tax return, you must have included your direct deposit information on those tax returns. So, in your most recent tax return, your 2019 tax return, you have to have included some direct deposit banking information. If you did, then you would be one of the first folks to receive your stimulus check. However, if you filed a 2019 or 2018 tax return, but you did not include your direct deposit banking information, and you may have not done that because you owe the IRS money, then what the IRS is asking you to do is go to the Get My Payment website. So there's an IRS website, and there's a button on that website entitled Get My Payment. You'll click on there, and that will give you the ability to update your banking information. If you've already visited the Get My Payment tool on the IRS website, you may have seen a notification that says that your money, your stimulus money, was set to be deposited on April 15th, and you have yet to receive those funds. The IRS is stating that they went ahead and slated your payment with your financial institution, and it could be that your financial institution is behind in processing that payment, meaning it just hasn't hit your account just yet. So definitely keep checking your bank account to see when those funds will hit. In addition, the IRS is sending out a follow-up letter. So this is critical. For every person that is receiving a stimulus check, they are going to send out a letter confirming that they sent those funds. Now, if you didn't receive those funds, or the fund amount was incorrect, meaning it didn't meet your expectation based on the number of children that you have, then that letter gives you the opportunity to fill in any issues that you may have and send that back to the IRS, letting them know, hey, here's the issue that I had with my payment. The next question is, why do I keep getting the message, payment status not available, when I go to the Get My Payment tool on the IRS website? So here's potentially what's happening. It just means that you probably have filed your 2019 tax return, but the IRS has not yet processed that tax return. Now keep in mind, the IRS started accepting 2019 tax returns mid to late January. Then we had the coronavirus pandemic, and a lot of IRS workers have been furloughed or are not actually at the office and they're working from home. Therefore, they are actually behind in processing your 2019 tax return. And therefore, even though you've sent in the tax return and you filed, they may not have processed your tax return yet, and therefore you're receiving the payment status not available on the IRS website for Get My Payment Information. So the next question, why my stimulus payment was delayed because I used a paid tax preparer. So what's happening is that there are a lot of folks out there that filed their tax return with one of the larger tax preparer organizations here in the US. Now I won't mention them by name, but one of them is a big green square. Now when you filed with those folks, you may have received what is called a rapid refund. If you applied for a rapid refund, here's what happened. The tax preparer cut you a check immediately after the tax return was prepared and filed with the IRS. So therefore, they essentially gave you an advance on your refund from the IRS. Once the IRS processed your tax return, what they did was they deposited your refund with the tax preparer. So at that point in time, the IRS only has your tax preparer information on file and not your information on file with respect to the direct deposit banking information. So again, think about the process that happened whereby you got a rapid refund check from your tax preparer, but the tax preparer actually got the check from the IRS. So that is really causing a mix-up with the IRS in determining where to send your stimulus check. So there are plenty more questions and answers listed in this article, but what I'd like to do is really just, as I mentioned before, I'll have the link below. If you'd like, go ahead and click on the link, go through the article to see if there are any specific questions that pertain to your situation. Now, just as a reminder, or when you do take a look at that link, the article that you're looking for was posted by the Washington Post, and it's entitled Stimulus Check Glitches, Why You're Having Trouble and What You Can Do About It. So that's the article that you want to look for and really go through all the Q&A that's listed in that article. So based on all the information that we've seen, that we've read, it appears that there is really a priority order with who's receiving these stimulus checks. So really at the top of the list are those folks that filed their 2019 tax return. The tax return was processed and accepted by the IRS, and you provided your direct deposit information. So those folks that fall under that particular scenario would be receiving their stimulus checks first, or higher priority. Kind of the next in line would be you haven't filed your 2019 tax return, but you filed your 2018 tax return. It was processed and accepted, and you also included your direct deposit information. So if you fall in any one of those two buckets, you're really at the top of the list to receive your stimulus check. So next in line would be those that filed their 2019 tax return or their 2018 tax return. It got accepted by the IRS, so it was accepted and processed, but you did not provide any direct deposit information, and you've gone to the Get My Payment Info website and you've entered your direct deposit information, then the IRS should be able to get you your check or do a direct deposit for your stimulus check based on that information. So next in line would be those that don't typically file a tax return on an annual basis, but what you've done is you've gone to the non-filers website. So there, on the IRS's website, there's an area for non-filers to enter their information, and it's really, you're entering information to actually file a simple 1040 tax return. And once you do that, you'll also be able to enter your direct deposit information, and then those folks would be receiving their checks as well. So kind of in the next line or next priority. And then finally, anyone else that doesn't have any direct deposit information with the IRS would be receiving a paper check. Now, our understanding is that those paper checks are slated to go out next week. So keep an eye on your mailbox for those checks. Now remember, as I mentioned earlier, once payment has gone out the door from the IRS, whether that's direct deposit or check, they are required by law to mail you a letter stating that they did send you the stimulus money. And that letter is where, or gives you the opportunity to respond to either make corrections or give any updated information to the IRS. So really, the last thing I want to mention, and this question has come up quite a bit, is how can I talk to someone, physically talk to someone at the IRS? And really, at this point in time, that is very difficult to do, because much like everyone else, you're working from home, and that's happening with the IRS as well. So you've got two things you're battling with the IRS. Number one, they don't have the best technologies that they're using like everyone else is in the world. And number two, they're just not there. So it's going to be very difficult to get someone on the phone. As a matter of fact, I saw an article just today where the IRS is requesting that if you sent in, let's say you mailed in your 2019 tax return, here's what they've done. They've said, fax us that tax return. Literally fax the tax return so that they can receive it and process it quicker. I don't know about everyone else, but I don't have a fax machine, and I know it's tough for anyone to send anything via fax today. Just really kind of proves the point that the IRS is not working with the latest technology that's out there. So it's going to be very difficult to talk to someone. I think the best thing to do is hopefully you get that letter in the mail that a check went out the door to you or a direct deposit happened, and you can respond to that letter saying, hey, I didn't get my payment, or there was an issue with your payment, and then you can write back to the IRS and let them know what's happening. So that's it for today. Stay tuned to our channel. Make sure to subscribe. We'll be bringing you updates, if not daily, at least every other day, all about the stimulus check and other topics related to, the SBA, Paycheck Protection Program loans, and just really everything that's happening right now that's affecting, you, the taxpayer, as well as you, the small business owner. So take care, stay safe.